Anytime you mess up and you're ineligible to win, you become a Mahjong eunuch. It's so visceral, it's so visual, right? Like, you did a mess up, your balls are chopped, it's the end of your line. You cannot win at all. It's impossible for you to win this hand.
What's up, guys? Today I got to sit down with two really awesome organizers who are building true infrastructure for their community. They've created a full competitive league with seasons and ladders and standings. They've developed teaching curriculum that takes someone from never touching tiles to tournament ready. And they've grown from 0 to 50 members with nearly 90% retention. I mean, that's crazy numbers. They've built a business model that funnels money back to Asian-owned businesses across LA. Super inspiring stuff. The co-founders of LA Mahjong League, Nancy and Sam. I want to get into you guys' origin story. Sam, I know that you were already running Steep LA, which is a tea house focused on slow living and gathering. So what made you think that you guys should add a Mahjong League to that?
So I think Steep is more than just a food and beverage project. It was very much a cultural project. So I wanted to kind of bring Chinese culture to the forefront in a way that's modernized and acceptable by, I think I would say, like mainstream audiences. And I think having Mahjong as one of the programming, it's really interesting because it's a game that we grew up playing, but it didn't get the limelight as he should have. And just kind of bring it back and having more. And I mean, I play a lot with all my friends, but to bring it to a even larger audience, I think that really meant a lot to what I was trying to do as a whole. As a designer, trying to create or rebrand Chinese culture or bring Chinese culture in a different light. So I thought that was really important.
Sweet. And then Nancy, how did you get connected with Sam?
Yeah, this is our origin story for the LA Mahjong League. I was at Steep. I didn't know Sam already, and for an event at the tea house, and I turned to my partner Ramon and I said, "Ramon, wouldn't it be cool if they hosted mahjong events here?" I said it out loud, and I don't remember his response, but I remember somebody from behind me saying, "Yeah, they should." And I turn around, and lo and behold, it was Sam. And he said, "Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-owner of Steep." And I said, "Well, I guess those words landed on, ready ears." Um, and I've shared this previously, but that was like the most recent time that I've manifested something, just speaking it into the universe. So it's quite thrilling.
Really right place, right time. And so how long between like this conversation that you guys had of like, oh yeah, there should be Mahjong here until the first event?
Man, it's all such a blur. I'm sure this resonates with you. I mean, we just celebrated, well, not just, it's been a couple months. We're just over 2 years old now. So I guess leading up to that very first event probably took like a meeting or two meetings after that for initial introduction, where we sat down and we kind of were like, okay, if we're going to start this thing, what is it going to look like? What are the contours of it? And I think between Sam and I, as founders, we definitely have strengths, different strengths that complement each other well. I'm pretty much like a really kind of like a planner, and let's put it all down. Let's have brainstorm sessions, and let's do this and that. And Sam is very practical and very business minded and brings that to the table as well. And so yeah, that's kind of how we got started.
And how was that first event? How did it go? How many people showed up? Was it already the the whole season tournament already, or was there some previous events that were more one-off before then?
Go ahead, Nancy.
Honestly, that was over 2 years ago. I want to say our first one was probably definitely at Steep, and I want to say it was definitely not where we are today, how we've evolved. Um, the initial idea that we had was to create a league, which with that is, these events that are tournament. So you're playing, and there's points on the line. Um, and I think the initial idea was, wouldn't it be great if we could just launch it like as is, just like that? But that's not how our journey kind of led us. I think initially when we first started, we had a conversation about wanting to introduce people to the game of Mahjong. Like if we had just launched just tournament style, the people we would attract would be people who already know how to play, right? Like Chinese Americans, um, Asian Americans, or people who played growing up at home. Yes, there are a lot of you out there. There are a lot of those people out there. But what's missing from that is really just engaging people who don't know about the game at all, introducing them from the start. And so our very first event, I remember, was a teaching event. And that's when we started to think about, well, what do you need to properly to teach people? What are the resources, the materials, the curriculum essentially needed to do such a thing? And so over time, we just kind of beta tested and developed these materials and these things over time. And I'm really proud of what we've accomplished to date.
That's really cool. A really great like way to think about it, because like attracting the people who already like know how to play. At least for me, right? Like I am someone who's been playing Mahjong for a while, so I have that like natural selfish want to get better, right? But I just don't really have anyone around me to to play and to get better. So it ended up being more of I had to teach people how to play, and where I'm like slowly getting my community up to speed basically. But Nancy, I know that you have an education background, and so you're the one who created the teaching pipeline. So walk me through what it takes or what it looks like to take someone from never touching tiles to being tournament ready.
I think the key thing is empathy and the ability to step outside of yourself and view it from a newbie's perspective. Like you've never seen tiles before. It's all foreign. There are these Chinese characters. There are things that make the game feel inaccessible, but when you can talk through that and like take fear off the table and kind of like get people comfortable in the environment that they're stepping into. And people are coming from all different walks, all different backgrounds, ethnicities, and even their learning preferences or the way people learn. It's all different. And by education background, I'm by no means a teacher by trade. I used to work at a school, so I've been around educators. But one of the key things about just teaching anybody anything is that ability to A, be empathetic, and B, step outside of yourself and try to see it from their perspective. And so I think all of the things that we've developed over time for how best to teach come from those founding ideas, basically. And the materials that we've created, we try to be as clear as possible for the resources, like plain English and going through the editing process to make sure, like, okay, this makes sense to us. Do you think it'll make sense to just about anybody? And so that's kind of like the process that we go through. I'm not sure if that answered your question. Sam, feel free to chime in.
That was a question for you, so I'm not chiming in. I'm not an
And
educator at all.
Sam takes a different tack. Like, we respect all the teachers and the, their flavor or their personality that they bring to the table. But I think if I'm just speaking for myself, being engaging, being clear and in the communication, I always kind of also make it conversational and try to keep it fun. At the end of the day, you're not coming to learn because you have to. It's because it's fun and it's this amazing game that I hope to introduce many, many people to. So those are my 2 cents.
I do think our teaching program is one of the most complete. It's probably the most thought out because we walked into this thinking about how to like make sure people understand how to play and make sure they play the right way, they play well. And this is why we've always been very clear about our messaging. So you can come in as a beginner. Like if you don't know anything, come in as a beginner. And if you have learned the basics of it, we also offer intermediate classes. And that was deliberate because we want people to get better. And in the words that I think Nancy likes to say a lot is creating pipeline for players for our tournament. But I think the game is only is good for you or for any new players or any players is that when you become really good at it or good enough where it's not a hindrance to your enjoyment of the game. So we set out in the beginning to make sure that we put the teaching portion of it into what LA Mahjong League was about. And as much as about being a league, a competitive league, but it's also about playing the right way and teaching people the right way so that they could be a part of this game and play it well. Because you don't want to be bad at this game and try to join a tournament and just be the worst player in this tournament. That won't feel good. And I think that I would have to say that if I haven't done a
Yeah, so picking up on what Sam said as well, the way that we've structured the pipeline is we offer beginner classes, and that's anywhere from I kind of learned sort of, but I don't really know how to even set up or the mechanics, how to build the walls. So you would come to beginner, or you've never touched tiles before, you've never heard about Mahjong. That's the beginner level. And then you graduate to intermediate, and that's when we start to incorporate strategy and an introduction to the LA Mahjong League house rules. Now, this is a fun thing that I like to talk about because it is the product. I feel like it's kind of like our, I don't know, it's a product of something that Sam and I created together, and I joke about it being like a product of 6 to 11 hours of vigorous debate, editing, more debating, design work. That was all from Sam. And so this product is the product of all of those hours and hours of conversation and debate and work put into it. Kind of like blood, sweat, and tears. But yeah, that gets introduced at the intermediate level. And then those house rules are the rules that are the standard for our tournament play. So they're available on our website, and when you join the league, everybody receives a printed copy of this booklet, which are our house rules.
Yeah, I've seen your guys' house rules. First, they're very thorough and very well designed. But besides the house rules pamphlet, what other teaching tools have you developed? Is there anything else? And also, this is kind of a double question. Are these classes, the beginner and the intermediate classes, are these standalone events, or are they on top of your regular league dates?
I guess I think we also offer a checklist to kind of go through what people need to do after they win, so that they know how to count points. Because I think having the guide in front of you is one thing, but knowing where to start counting is another thing. So I think that checklist has been super helpful. Again, I think that goes back to Nancy's empathy, is that she understands that not everybody knows. Whereas I'm more like, I already know the game, so why do we need this list? But it's been great having that checklist. So a lot of time I think when Nancy brings up an idea, I'm like, why do we need this? They should already know. And I realize no, they don't. And then we'll make the checklist and people follow it and it gets really, really good. So that's one thing. We also have teaching guides to go through all the tiles and what they're called in Chinese, and also the same terms in English. I think American Mahjong calls them a little differently, but we both teach them in Chinese, which is one, or in Mandarin, one, tong and tiao, and then in English it's crack. Again, I don't get it, but bams and dots, right? It's dots, right?
Yeah.
And
there's also Filipino style, which
yeah,
is character balls and, do they just say bam? Sticks. Sticks?
sticks. I think sticks are great. And then go through all the wins, and then kind of have an example winning hands. And we give each new member or a new attendee who are coming for a class to have a sheet that they can take home, so they can always reference back to what they are. Of course, the mahjong sets we use already have numbers on them, so it's not as big of a struggle. But that's a lot of these materials that we have. And I forgot the second part of the question. Is it? We do a variation of the two. Sometimes we offer teaching classes alongside of league, and sometimes for other events we'll just host teaching sessions, and then have tables for open play so people can come in and play on their own. I think the benefit of having league next to teaching is people can see, how good a player can get if they continue to work at it. I know we just had an event yesterday, so there were a couple people that were asking me, it's like, why don't they be teachers? And I just told them that they were here for tournaments. That's why we're not teaching them. But they were very shocked that there was only two teachers teaching two tables. But because they were very surprised how good they were and how fast everything was going, and they were shocked that we don't need to chaperone those tables. So it's a combination of the two.
And for these the strategy guides that are more in the intermediate, are you guys getting into like tile efficiency and building for value and stuff like that? What exactly goes into the intermediate classes?
So yeah, I definitely go into all the efficiencies, going through probabilities, going to what tiles to play at a certain stage. Why would you play that? Why would you not play a certain tile? And looking at what people have discarded, building for value, and then seeing what points they have. But since a lot of them are just beginners graduating to intermediate, I'm trying to not to do too much of that, but allowing to make a decision early. Like my goal for them is playing a little faster, understanding like what could be discarded early and what could be discarded, late, or having a plan of what you can already discard based on what you have in your hand, so that they're not kind of dragging along. They're not thinking too long. And then teaching etiquette. I love teaching etiquette because I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough, because There's a lot of small etiquettes that you can always do to make the game a little smoother, make everybody a little happier, and kind of go.
I love all that nitty gritty kind of nerdy strategy stuff when it comes to mahjong, and especially the etiquette part is very important too because I the etiquette is definitely a big part of the game that is one of those things that is kind of unspoken. You kind of just pick it up, but having that available to people or being able to teach them is really important because those little things like they're part of the game whether you like it or not.
Yeah, like I know all of it through my family because they will yell at me if I don't do it, but I think part of it is just making things a little easier because I think in my head Taiwanese mahjong is a little less competitive already, so it's already a lot more social. You don't need to plan out how many points you already have in your hands. You can win on any hand, so the game inherently is already a lot more social. So if that's the case, then let's make sure we do all the little parts correct as well, like calling out tiles, pushing up the tiles when someone can reach, setting the tile you ate in the middle, like all the little things that I think will make the game go smoother, and then like it just makes you feel like you are a more of an expert than just someone picking up this game. And I think you always gotta, you gotta fake it to make it, right? And you gotta walk the walk, and as you talk the talk. So I like to be a little bit more detailed early on because when you do that, then they don't pick up any bad habits down the line that you can't correct. So, or I wouldn't call it bad habits. It's just different habits because every game has different habits, and you can't kind of force them onto it. But at least now that they know when they're playing Taiwanese style, there's a specific things that you need to do, and a lot of them appreciate it. So we'll continue to do that.
And I think added on to that, what I think is fascinating is that we have our house rules, right? Like there is mahjong, but if you go to anybody's house, they have their own etiquettes and their own little things that are like, that's not how my family plays, and that's not yada yada. So in this whole process, it's been fascinating to build LA Mahjong League because you're coming to our house, and therefore you're going to follow our etiquette and you're going to follow our rules because that's the standard. And so in a sense, we've kind of created what those house rules and what that etiquette is. As an example, in general, I've always played with my family and with others where you call your discard, where you announce what you are discarding, the tile you're discarding. But I've played with other people, they play Taiwanese style at home, and they do not call their discards. That was not, you know, a normal thing for them. And so coming to play at the LA Mahjong League, they had to turn that on because that was not usual for them or common for them.
That's super interesting because like you said, it really does depend household to household how people play. And I think whenever I've had to explain to someone kind of like mahjong, or when they're doing their own research and they're like, oh, the different styles, right? The way that I've found is best to kind of explain that randomness that happens, or the variability that happens between household to household or version to version, is that mahjong is kind of like a deck of cards. You can play a million different games with a deck of cards, and they're all the same thing, but everyone plays them a little bit different. All the games kind of play a little bit differently. So it's more of a platform than a singular game, like Monopoly, for example.
Yeah, rules aren't like, like even just the conversation me and Nancy go through to lock down house rules. It just shows how different the game could be, and I think we always like to point out there's no wrong way to go at it. I think there's some basic stuff that you got to do correct. Like with the direction of play and direction of drawing tiles. I think those are standardized. but in terms of what the value of this hand is very like arbitrary. You know, we can call it two, we can call it one. It doesn't matter. I think as long as you sanitize it ahead of time, making sure people understand what that's worth, then people know what to build towards. Then you're good. And then, you know, we have made some changes to our house rules, kind of to I would say affect gameplay. Part of it is having our own house rules apply to it, but part of it is how we want our players to play. And then we did add some more value to some certain hands to make sure that they kind of go down that route more often than they would if they just play at home. But those are communicated early. You know, it's in the rules early, and we made sure before we started this tournament and before this league, we made sure that this rule was done first, so that there was no leeway in how things can be interpreted. Because to have a good league, you gotta have standardized operations rules and how things are handled. So I think that's another thing that I think we did a very good job on, setting those ahead of time so that we can run a competitive league that people.
I feel like wow, you guys have really put a lot of thought into this, and I really admire it. And if we could like sit here and talk about like curriculum and teaching all day, but I want to move on to some specifics, right? How many people have come through your league across both seasons, and what has the retention rate been from season 1 to 2?
Uh, you caught me off guard. I did not bring my stats game.
I know it. I know. It's like we had season one, it's 40-ish people. I would say like 42, 43. And then season two, we had around 50, closer to 52, 53. And then out of that 40 that returned, I would say 85 to 90% have returned. And most of the people that have not returned are because they either moved somewhere or they already let us know that they won't be able to handle the season because of schoolwork or work and all that stuff. Our retention is pretty high. So I would say that people like the competitive part of it, and people love playing at our tables, even though like the pool of players are definitely smaller, just because how much dedication you need to put in, right? You have to be able to play 6 to 8 tournaments within those 3 months. So you actually have to love the game, and you have to be able to play the game. So that's basic the data we have right now. And yes, I am that sensitive to numbers.
Well, I do have a number for you. For our current season, season 2, there are 4 players who've come to every single game, every single tournament we've hosted, and that's 7 so far. Our 8th one is coming up this Sunday, the 14th. I don't know if we can add dates since this episode is coming out later, but 4 people have come to all 7 events so far, and they're probably going to come to the 8th one as well. And that's just phenomenal to me, that there's just this desire to play, this, this love of the game. And it is a community. I love looking out. I love seeing people connecting at the table. And essentially, because it's a league, they would have been strangers otherwise. But they come together, and they're coming to play this game week after week. And it's really beautiful to watch.
That is really beautiful, because I especially with Mahjong, it's one of those, since it is such a social game, I've found that one of the beautiful depths of Mahjong is playing with the same people over and over again, and kind of forming a mental model of how this person plays versus this person. And of course, you can add that onto the endless complexity and depth that it already has. But the people also are what really bring it to life. So that's really cool. Uh, what? So if you guys have around like 40, 50 people, so you guys are running like 10, 11 tables, or are people sitting out and kind of rotating into tables throughout the night?
So, uh, for our events for the season, um, league members have to register every time they want to come to one of our events. So the tables will range, right? Like sometimes we only have 6 tables, sometimes we have 8. Um, we've never actually had the full complement of every league member being available to come and play on for one singular event. We may never get that, but it's just being able to offer it in this way is you have 8 opportunities to score points, and the method that we've used is the ladder system. And so when you come, you're not actually playing against the people at your table, you're playing against yourself. So the points you accumulate, either in the positive or the negative, um, get added or subtracted from your number on the ladder. So that's how it works.
And do you guys have this ladder posted? Is it like a printout, or do you have it like on the website or something?
So we have an Instagram channel for our league members,
Mm.
and that's where we post all of our updates, and that's where we post the updated ladder. In addition, it's not a newsletter. I don't want to go there, but I am in regular email conversation with the league members, especially when the next event is coming up and we're posting tickets for it. I will also email the updated ladder to.
Huh, that's super cool. I'm in a bowling league. It's not a Mahjong league, but I'm in a bowling league and it runs very similar to it. And that's kind of like the beauty of it. You come every week and you play against different people. And sometimes you play against other people, and like watching your team like either go up or go down every week is so much fun. And I know that you guys you structured this as a league with seasons and points, and there's standings and the ladder system. Um, so and I also know that you guys have two different types of tables. You have a tortoise and a hare table. How does that work?
When we first decided, okay, we're ready to launch league play, tournament play, I brought up this scenario where I was like, everybody's playing, everybody plays kind of at different speeds or different levels. How do we accommodate for that? And so one of our other members and volunteers actually brought up this idea. So I can't claim it as my own, but she was like, what about tortoise and hare? Because it's very, it's figurative, right? Like you kind of get the analogy right away, that there are these different speed levels. And so how that has manifested is that the tortoise level is, we say that it's unlimited time, try for 30 seconds. And when we say 30 seconds, once it's your turn, you have 30 seconds to make a move. So aim for that, for tortoise. On the hare side, it's 10 seconds. And the way we enforce that is we go around and do time checks with a timer on our phones. And we haven't come across this yet, but we do have it explicitly stated in our FAQs that if you're unable to keep up with the time, you will then have to play at the tortoise level for all subsequent events. And so that is also going back to this idea of stepping outside ourselves and viewing it from the guest experience or the player experience. If I'm sitting down, and I would very much prefer to play with people of a similar speed to myself. Because if you're sitting and you have to wait, and if you're sitting and people are taking their time, like it can cause a bit of friction or a bit of frustration. And so that's why we devised this 2-speed level. Adding on top of that is what we have seen as an evolution. Over the course of the season, people who started off as Tortoise then graduate to Hare because they also become faster as they play, and they also become more impatient with the other tortoises at their table, as it were. So they graduate, and we don't say it's a positive or a negative, it's just a fact of life. And the other thing that I will say is sometimes the only way to start playing faster is to play faster.
Words to live
Yeah.
by. Words to live by. So I know that you guys were saying earlier, you have this you have this emphasis on etiquette and playing correctly, playing the right way. And with the Tortoise and Hare, you do the time checks to enforce people are playing at the correct speeds. But how do you enforce etiquette?
Part of it is just me and Nancy walking around and reminding people to call the tiles. Like I even if they are playing as if I'm not teaching a class, I will hover around a few tables and just keep an eye out and just look at what people are doing. And if people took a tile, if they ate a tile and they didn't put it in the middle, I'll just like, hey, remember to put it in the middle. And if they didn't call the tiles, I'll just say, hey guys, remember to call your tiles. The other etiquettes, which like they're not pushing their tiles up, I'm trying not to get too into it while they're playing because sometimes they're deep in their strategizing. I don't want to break up their mental state. But what I always want to do is make sure that I remind them and just so that they know what they're up to. But other than that, it's not like a hard, like I'm not slapping them on the hand going like, if you do this again, I'm sending you back to Tortoise. And then most of them know.
Tortoise
right?
is not a punishment. Let's just be clear. We love anybody who loves and is interested in playing with us.
And I've taken up the personality of a Chinese dad. I'm just like disappointed at all of them at all times. So I just walk around going like, what are you guys doing? This is not okay, guys. And then I think, we all make mistakes. So like as long as you're not doing this 24/7, just a small warning, like don't do this again, or like we just had that happen last night. Somebody drew the last tile that they're not supposed to. It was already out of play. And then while she drew that, she gave up the winning tile, but that wasn't not even technically okay. So I just said, you guys can't do this. So this win does not exist. You guys go back to what's the term called? Go back to a draw, and it was a draw, right? And like these things, happen. And I just told her, I was like, look, don't do that again. I mean, I'll let you slide this time. Don't do it again. But also there are players that forget to draw a tile after their gong. And I'm like, you can't do it. Sorry, then you can't win this hand because that
Mahjong
affects the
Eunuch.
game. Yeah. So once you get to that level, you just at the tournament we were very upfront also about we are not offering help, but we're here to officiate. So if things that need to be officiated, we'll officiate, but we're not helping anybody to make any moves. So just being there, like part of me and Nancy's job when we're not teaching is to enforce rules and enforce things. And sometimes that's not the nicest thing, but to keep this thing straight up. This is why every professional league has, not that saying we're professional, but every league has refs and umps because some people need to be there to make sure everything goes smooth and goes correctly. So that's our role when we're not teaching.
And Nancy, I heard you mention Mahjong Eunuch. I was going to ask you that. So what is the Mahjong Eunuch rule? How often does it come up?
It's not a rule. It's anytime you mess up and you're ineligible to win, you become a Mahjong Eunuch. And I love it because it's the direct translation of the Chinese phrase, 相公. And when I teach this, I explained this to beginners last night, actually, and I was like, it's so visceral. It's so visual, right? Like, you did a mess up, your balls are chopped, it's the end of your line. Like, you cannot win at all. It's impossible for you to win this hand. You just have to ride it out and hope you don't throw out the winning tile, but it's impossible for you to win. And that's another thing about tournament play that's different from just casual social play, is that there's stakes. There are points on the line, and we want to respect the gameplay, and we want people to play correctly. And the flip side of that is, if you don't play correctly, there are consequences. So, examples of Mahjong
you're
Eunuch
missing
are
one.
examples of Mahjong Eunuch, the state of being a Mahjong Eunuch. If you forgot to repair grab a bonus tile from a 4 of a kind, a gong, then you're short a tile. If you forget to repair a tile from a flower, you're short tiles. If you forget to discard to end your turn, you have too many tiles. Like, these are all mess ups that have consequences.
Yeah, and at that point, you literally can't win. Like,
You can't.
you can't. It's impossible.
Literally, your balls are chopped.
That's amazing. I'm really happy I asked that question.
Have you never heard that phrase?
No. No. That it is very visceral, but it's also exactly correct. Like, that's it. That's it. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, and whereas in social play, it'd be like, oh, I don't have enough tiles. Can I just grab an extra one? And then everybody's like, yeah, of course. Like, do it. Like, in tournament style play, if you realize that this has happened, that's it. Like, there's no nice. It's like you internalize it and you remember for next time that you don't mess up, and that you make sure to follow all the rules.
And you can still lose. I think that's
Yes.
that's really interesting too. You can still lose. You can still throw out the winning tile, which is that's tough. That's a harsh reality to live in. But yeah, definitely. I can see if I was there and I accidentally became a Mahjong eunuch, that I would never make that mistake again.
Best way to learn.
Best way to learn. Oh, okay. And speaking of learning, you guys did your season 1. It was your beta. What didn't work, and what did you have to rethink, and what did you bring over to season 2?
I'm not sure if anything didn't work. Somehow it all worked kind of okay, but
Oh, my Excel didn't work. Do you remember
oh,
saying
that wasn't. I don't think that was
that had nothing to
part
do
of
with
the
gameplay?
season. Yeah, we just miscounted points at the very end, so we had a little winner drama at the very end. But it's okay. We got us off at the very end, and it did not dampen the mood. But
Yeah, well, this
uh,
is just an insider podcast for founders, right? It's just mistakes happen. Like, we're imperfect beings. Chalk it up to that, right?
yeah.
And it's just, you can have the best plans, and you could be the most prepared, and something will still mess up. And it's just, how resilient are you? How quickly can you pivot, and move on from it and recover and still have everyone have a good time? And that's what we're about.
Yeah, in terms of specifically what we learned and didn't like learn for season 1, and that we applied to season 2, let me think about this, because it did feel like overall it was pretty smooth. I think I would say the one thing that we definitely learned this season was don't do back-to-back events, because it was just a lot of pain to try to host an event, and then next week is already another event. I think especially for competition, it's just rough for people to like continue to be on for competition. These people are not professional athletes. They're not trying to non-stop play. But that's really the main thing, I think, in my head, that we will try to not implement next season to do back-to-back weeks. But having a longer season, I think that's what we learned, to not just do 6 events, do like an 8-event season. It was great. But now we just had to like elongate the time. but it was just awkward because we had holiday season, so we try to avoid, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We don't want people to try to not go home to their family during Mahjong season. So we were like, let's just avoid all of that drama.
I think one minor learning I would say is we've partnered with venues where they don't have chairs. I know this is like very basic, basic thing to navigate around. And so going forward, all the venues that we work with should be able to provide the chairs because we're schlepping the tables, we're schlepping Mahjong sets. But if we also have to do the chairs on top of that, it's just like, one thing to
Yeah, that's just
Rough.
logistics.
Yes. The logistics. If there's one through line that has been through every single organizer, it is the pain of moving mahjong tables, mahjong sets, chairs all around the city multiple times a month. And yeah, so far, this is the advice that I've put on every single podcast. If you want to become a mahjong organizer, get good at lifting things correctly because you're going to lift and move a lot of weight and you don't want to hurt yourself.
Yes.
and invest in a good cart.
Yes, a good cart, a dolly helps.
Folding tables are great. When I listened to your conversation. They're like, "Oh, mats." I'm like, "No, folding tables are greatest." Oh, and mats definitely are great, but like for places that can't fit mats, if you absolutely have to bring a table, folding tables for the win.
Folding tables, and
Our
especially
next challenge, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
the folding card tables, the ones with the lip. I feel like those are just so much better in every single way than just like a regular flat table. That's another piece of advice. Get the card tables with the lip. It makes setting up mahjong tiles a lot easier.
We found really nice folding mahjong tables that weren't expensive, so we'll share the link in the
Nice.
Discord, I guess.
Please.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, our next challenge is I don't believe you grew up playing Mahjong, Jacob. Is that right?
I did kind of, but I really got into it in the last like 2 years.
So here's one fond memory. Like the Mahjong table we had when I was growing up, they had the fold outs on each of the corners for the ashtray. When I was young, I was like, oh, it's to hold drinks. No, there were 4 ashtray things that came out to hold your ashtray because everybody is smoking. And then the second thing for the table was a crane neck light. The lighting has been the bane of my existence. Like we have those touch to open lights that sit on the table, then you have to take it off when people are shuffling and then it comes back on. Like the crane neck light with the clamp that clamped to the corner or on some edge of the table, that was like seared into my memory as like a kid growing up playing Mahjong with my family. I've been searching for a cordless crane neck lamp that clamps to the corner of the table where you don't have to take it on and put it off for gameplay, and I'm still on the hunt, y'all.
Yeah, if anyone knows where you can find that, because I would also really like to invest in some of those
Cordless.
as well. Cordless. We don't want any cords around.
Comment
Wireless.
below, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah,
Comment below.
yeah, comment below.
Subscribe and comment below.
I don't even have to do the CTAs myself. Hey. Yeah, it's actually been really difficult to find like nice mahjong equipment that aren't tiles. Like tables, like my family has a couple of tables that are like nice and wooden and they have the lip and they're folding and they have drawers for the chips and everything. But whenever I try to go on the internet and try to find any of these, they just like don't exist. I cannot find them for the life of me. I don't know if I'm not looking in the right places, but it's tough. If there's anything, Sam, maybe we need better mahjong equipment all around.
I'm trying my best. I've been waiting for my UV printer to come so that I can make some new LA Mahjong League Mahjong rulers, like customized rulers for us for so long. And unfortunately that printer got delayed, so I got really sad because I really want to make new rulers for us. And then also Nancy has been hounding me, making sure I make them soon. I'm like, I can't make them. I don't have
I
the
actually
printer.
also want us to make ashtrays
Yeah.
because
Yes.
Because
just
we're
it's just iconic. It
and I
has to
think of
happen.
all the two of us, only I sort of smoke, and I don't know. I don't even want ashtrays. She's like, give me more ashtrays. Okay. All right.
There's
We're getting
thousands of
ashtrays.
things you could use it for other than for that purpose.
Absolutely. But having an ashtray would be awesome because exactly like, I don't know what it is about sitting down at a Mahjong table, just wants you to open up a pack of smokes and just and just enjoy.
I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we don't encourage that.
It's very
However you-
nostalgic.
However you decide to live your life, that's up to you, but we're not encouraging smoking. Okay, maybe for season 3. Well, okay, but also speaking of the change of the seasons, right? From season 1 to season 2, you guys doubled the price from 50 to 100 to join the league. What justified that? What was the choice in that?
Wow, you did do your homework.
Thanks.
We added 2 events. We went from 6 to 8. And honestly, it doesn't cost us $0 for our time, right? And what will the market bear? When we double the price, no one batted an eye. So I feel like $100
Okay,
for
let's
8
not put it
events.
that way. No, I think
We can edit
we
that
also
out.
added one more prize for the 4th player because last season was top 3. This season, I mean, because Mahjong it's a game of 4, so top 4 players gets prizes, and all the prizes went up as well. So it's not like as if we didn't do anything else and it just be like, let's take it all the money. But we did also up all the prizes for winners and 2nd place, 3rd place, and then 4th place. So extra player gets a prize. All the players gets better prizes than last year, and I think that's where the money's going. Also, yeah, we're
And
hosting
we
more events.
implemented mini prizes. We didn't even
Yes.
talk about that. Oh,
Oh.
that's one holdover from the summer, Sam. This is an example of something that we carried over into season 2. The grapes. The grapes. So we weren't doing any other types of like prizes for our individual standalone tournament events. And over the summer, I just had like an excess of grapes one day. Like, you know, it's summertime and you have fruit around the house or whatever. It was like a lot of grapes. So I was getting ready to get set up for the event or whatever. I washed them all and I put them in individual Ziploc bags. And I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of cute to like offer these as like snacks maybe, or like what if we gamified this a little bit more? And so what we did was we put a bag of grapes at every table and we said, the first person to win by self-drawn tile, you win the bag of grapes. You would not believe the fierce competition that ensued from trying to get those grapes. It was just like, I don't know, it just opened my eyes to the competitive spirit. Like it could be anything, right? It could be the smallest thing, but it's like that competition it's real and it's palpable and it's really kind of fun to watch, you know, because
Yeah.
it's like it's not stakes in terms of like we're not gambling, right? It's purely for glory. It's purely for the joy of getting there first, and it's super fun to watch.
Mini prizes are great because there's some players are already out of the competition. They're not going to get top 4 no matter how well they play, right? So a lot of them just come in for the social aspect, hanging out with friends, having a good time playing, and then they'll try to go for the mini prizes because that's pretty much at that moment that's what they can do. But you can tell like towards the end of the season, people are now strategizing, like they're trying to draw other players to the same table so that they can have a chance to beat them, and then they are upset when they are unable to draw that tile because they were like, oh, there's an open seat there. I'm gonna draw this person so that I could win and then take their points so that there's a chance for me to get into the top 4. So like people want to compete and people are serious about it. And I didn't realize people are counting this hard because they know exactly who's how far they're from the top four, and they're trying their best to make sure people either get pulled down or they're gonna knock them.
Yeah, actually, that's a good. Now that we're talking about it, that was another thing that we carried over from season one to season two, which was the randomizing of the tables. I just so happen to have like a mini travel mahjong set with like small tiles, which we would never use for tournament because they're not fun to play with per se, like because they're so small. But what we did do was we broke apart that set and took out the winds, the itiao, the one bamboo, and like the three dragons. Um, and we use those tiles. We put them in a bag because there's four of every tile. That's how people randomize draw what table they're going to play at. And it was just like a fun, like such a simple thing that we're utilizing like actual mahjong tiles to randomize tables. And it's like, it was a thing that just we chanced upon in season one that we absolutely carried into season two. And it's something that it's like a regular thing now that when league members come, they check in and they choose their fortune from a bag. And that fortune is their randomized table draw.
That is super cool. And what a fun way to just incorporate more mahjong into the whole process. Because I know if I was there, I would be super looking forward to seeing, oh, what tile am I pulling today? Who am I playing against today? Like that's such a fun, like a little detail, but such a fun detail that just adds so much.
For sure.
So
Plus,
much.
for the tournament, there's 2 rounds, so you actually draw twice.
Sweet.
And so some people are like, oh my God, like we've definitely had it where there hasn't been a lot of changeover, right? Like 3 people stayed, but it's like that's the luck of the draw. Like we're not rigging it in any way. But it's a fun little element.
That's awesome. And for the ladder, um, how do the people gain and lose points? Is it based off of fan, or is it once you calculate that? Also, I don't know if the points get calculated differently in the Taiwanese version or for your guys' house rules. How do you determine the points that people gain or lose from their games?
It's gonna be similar to fun in County Mahjong. We call it Tai, which is basically the same thing. So um, when when you win, every like thing will kind of represent a point or certain points. So if you have flowers, you get points. If you have winds and dragons, you have points, or sets of wind and dragon, you have points. If only tile win, you have points. You know, on all that stuff, and they add up. And once you add the whole thing up, that's the point you will gain in that hand. And then, as you know, whoever discarded that tile will lose the same amount of points. So that's the plus and minus. So at the end of the game, the points should balance out to zero because there should be an exchange of points, right? And so some people will gain points, some people lose points, and that's how you increase and decrease your points in ladder. And then we calculate at the end of the 2 rounds how many points you lost or gained overall, and then we apply it to your current ladder. Everybody starts at 1,000, so you're basically however many points you're above 1,000 or how many points you're below 1,000, and then we'll rank you based on what place you're at. So we have some people that haven't played much, and then they stayed at 1,000 throughout the whole season. There are people that are like 1,100, 1,200 now. There are people that are like 900-ish. So end of the day, it's just a ladder up and down, and you count it by the taisu or the fansu that are listed out in our house rules.
And oh man, I just blanked on that question. Dang, that sucks. What was I gonna ask, man?
Points? Point counting? What's the highest hand?
Sure. What is the highest hand, actually?
I've never ever seen it once happen. It's called Tianhu, which is a win ordained by the heavens, which is a pawn setting up and you're drawing the first tile as dice host, the 17th tile, and that's your winning tile. That's 64 points. I've never seen it happen.
The heavenly hand is what we call
Yes.
it.
Yes, that's the heavenly hand.
The heavenly hand.
We actually had quite a bit of Nikos at our tournament, but the most recent one, just 17. It's 17 eight or 7 pairs and 1 three of a kind. That's what it's also. I think it also happens in 13 tiles games, but it's just 7 pairs. But the most recent one we had was
七抢八.
No, we didn't have Chichang-yi. We had a
七抢八.
we didn't have Chichang-yi. Chichang-yi. No, we had it was a Sankan, which is 3 pairs, three of a kind in your own hand, a all pawns hand plus a bunch of other stuff, and it was also self touch. I think she won 61 points out of that hand,
Wow.
which is kind of wild. But we
No,
had
the 2 events ago, I remember, I didn't count the tie, but it was Qiqiangyi. They had 7 flowers and a
no, that
person.
was at a teaching one. That wasn't at an actual tournament.
Oh,
It was at an
but it happened
intermediate
at
class.
your table, right?
Yeah, as that happened in my intermediate class, which is super rare. Is somebody grabs 7 flowers and then another player has 1 flower, and you automatically win from that player.
Because
Oh,
you
really?
steal their 8th
Yeah.
flower,
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
and they owe you points.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. It's kind of like
That was straight
winning
luck.
off a stolen gong. Do you guys have that
Sort-
rule?
Yeah, we have that too. We have that as well.
抢杠.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's cool. I remember the question, the original question. These 2 rounds that you guys play at the league events, the tournament events, is it a full wind or is it just one game?
So we don't play wins for tournament. We play by time. Each
Oh,
round is 1.5 hours long, so it doesn't. We don't even use the wind marker. It's just based on time.
sweet. Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
that,
most games an hour and a half. I think bare minimum is like 2.5 wins. Most people, like a lot of faster players, will play up to 4 wins, which they're so fast. I'm like, sometimes I check out their sheets. I'm like, how are you guys playing 4 wins already? But most will play 2.5. 3 happens quite a bit. The people that get to 4 are usually just like you haven't. It's like literally the God have put them together because they literally all draw their fortune and they all happen to be at the same table. We generally know which 4 of those people are, or which people when they sit together can play a lot. So when they get set down together, I'm ready to see a sheet full of scores because they just go through it so fast. But usually 2.5 to 4 wins. That's the usual like number. At Hare tables, there's usually a very little chance they get less than 3. Very rarely. But on Tortoise tables, usually you get about 2 wins. So you go around 8. You play around 8 times, including draws and all that
Compounding.
stuff. Yeah, so 8 times overall. Yeah.
sweet. Okay, so going back to your guys's prizes, I know your prizes are usually gift cards to AAPI-owned businesses. How did this become part of the model, and how do you source these partnerships?
So for the LA Mahjong League, we are a pop-up style, and so we don't have a brick and mortar ourselves, and we partner with predominantly Asian-owned businesses to host our events. And so winners of those gift cards can choose from any number of our current and past partners, venue partners. This really was born out of, neither Sam nor I nor anybody else I know of is doing this, hosting or doing this Mahjong club to make money. We're doing it because we love the game. We're doing it to share our culture. We're doing it to have that sense of community, and um, because we're proud of this aspect of our lives. Um, that being the case, like, we absolutely exist, and Sam is an AAPI business owner himself. We want to uplift Asian-owned businesses. We want to support the local Asian economy, and we want to um, do all that whilst playing this game that we love. So it kind of ties it all together.
Beautiful. I love that. It really is for the love of the game. That's another through line that I've seen by talking to um, organizers, is that everyone is just doing it really for the love of the game. They just love it. They want to share it. And they all come at it from slightly different angles, but at the end of the day, it's we all love this game and we just want to share it with as many people as possible. Have any of these partnerships with these businesses, have any of these people ended up, coming and playing at the league?
Oh, okay. I think.
No, they're busy running their businesses.
Yeah, that's one thing. But some do try to play like teaching tournament. Like they'll come to a learning table and learn how to play, because a lot of them want to play, but they don't get to. But once, if they have time, they're staffed correctly, then some of them do come out to play. There are times we throw mini tournaments where they will come join and play. But we have found a lot of partners. I would say we found a lot of partners that we didn't really expect to be long-term partners, because they kind of just reached out and they were interested, but later on just became one of our long-term venue partners. And that has been really interesting, because you didn't think they would be that interested. You didn't think this would become a thing consistently, because of the nature of their business and where they located. But it just became a great fit. And so, we do our best to try to support as many AAPI-owned businesses as possible through the hosting events there, and also like we are doing with gift cards. It's trying to get them.
Yeah, a note about the gift cards too is we never ask for donations from our partners. Like, we're actively collecting league dues or league fees, and we're applying that toward purchasing all of the gift cards as well, because of that supporting of those Asian-owned businesses. And I will also say, you probably know this, and all other Mahjong clubs know this, is that we are actively drivers of economy when we host events, right? It's never the case where the way we structure it is every ticket comes with your first drink included. And what that is that you're buying a ticket and you're getting your first drink, but many of the guests and people that come and play often spend more additional money. They're ordering food, they're ordering additional drinks, they're ordering snacks. And that is just, in that sense, also going back to supporting as well. So we love seeing that whole ecosystem in play, especially coming off of the pandemic, especially seeing, I think there's still ripple effects from organizations like AAPI hate. I don't know if it's called that. That was the hashtag, but it was just kind of like our communities really faced a lot of hardship, more than any other time in, at least that I can remember, being an Asian American in America. And I think it's the only way to combat that is a vibrancy, a community, and love. And that's what we're trying to.
Can you name some of these partners that you have?
So we have Chifa, which is a Peruvian Chinese restaurant in Eagle Rock. Amazing. Steep LA, a little tea shop in Chinatown. We have N17 The Lane, which is our partner on the west side in Culver City. We have Peking Tavern, Callisto Tea House in Altadena, Pasadena.
We have N70, no smoking bar. We have a bar in Culver City with Soban, a family-run restaurant for like 25 years in Koreatown. We have Sua Supret, a Supret located in Larchmont, run by two amazing Chinese American businesswomen. I think also I ate sushi in Culver City. So we're just doing as best as we can. If we're working with them on the venue, then we'll add them to the list and then they can choose it because it's they're helping us out. We're helping them out. I think that's the nicest thing that we can do for each other in this kind of.
They're all, if I may also add, we put a lot of thought into our FAQs because I really wanted to circumvent multiple questions or, just making sure everything was as clear as can be. So all of those partners are also listed in our FAQs underneath the prize section.
So I want to get into your guys' co-founder dynamics. How do you two divide the work? Who handles what, etc.?
It's a real choreography, Sam.
I do the design side. I do the money side. So the accounting, the design, and tech side, and build the website, and then I do the merch, and then the labor, and also house all the logistics. So the tables are back in my warehouse. So I do that, and then I think Nancy can list out what she does because I think she does plenty, and I don't know where to start.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a thinker. I'm a planner. I'm an ideas generator. I'm never, comfortable just being comfortable. I really want to make things the best that they can be. I want to come up with new ideas, fresh ideas. So, logistically, I want to make sure that our events run off without a hitch. So that's anywhere from answering people's questions, responding to DMs. I'm sure this is going to sound really, really familiar to a lot of you all folks. But it's all of that customer relations aspect of the role. It's kind of funny. It's like, for loving this game as much as I do, a lot of the stuff that I do on a daily basis is not related to the game, right? It's like fulfillment and answering questions and doing social media, which I am not a social media expert by any means, but now I found myself kind of head of content or whatever. And yeah, making sure our materials are on point, battle testing. I like to say battle testing. Like, let's read through it. Let's read through it again, right? Like, let's make sure.
How do you, I know that you guys obviously discuss a lot, and earlier you were saying that especially when it was coming to making the house rules, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of planning,
Vigorous.
a lot of more discussion, vigorous discussion. How do you guys make decisions when you do see things differently?
We don't.
It's like with any relationship, it comes down to compromise, right? At the end of the day, It's like, how important is this? I think that House Rules was a very specific time in our journey because it did to me feel kind of personal because we were essentially coming together and explaining, this is how my family did it. This is how we did it at home growing up, right? These were how we counted the points. And so what I heard in the vigorous discussion was, your family did it wrong. Or it's like, that is not right. Or that is not good. That is not a good way to count. So for me, obviously, I was like immediately in defense mode and like defending my family's honor in a sense.
That really is true. I think I straight up was just like, no, that's wrong. And so every time when people is like, why are you so harsh on other people? It's like, no, I'm just as harsh with Nancy. You just don't know this.
But I think at the end of the day, you got to keep a light heart to it as well. You know, like this is a passion, fun project. Nothing's so serious that it can't be talked through, or you can't come to a compromise, or come to an agreement.
Yeah, just like we both know what we're trying to get at, and I think as much as there's some problem with her family's rules, that I think end of the day we're finding the right middle ground and trying to get through it, because I think end of the day is like what Nancy said, it's empathy towards the players that are playing, right? They didn't have an extensive family role like we both did, so they're not gonna be as on top of it as we are. So as long as we're on top of our game and on top of each other in terms of what gets done and what gets sorted out, then they don't need to see the ugly side of us arguing over 6 hours on every single point. But they just get to see the final product. That I think, once this gets, because we both knew that was a one-time thing. We didn't need to argue about it after. I mean, we still argue about it after, but like we don't
But
need
in a
to do
fun
it.
way.
Yeah, but like you don't need to really deal with it after you didn't do it the first time. So as long as we get that done early, then we knew that was the base, the foundation of how this tournament is going to be run. And I think that's important to make sure this tournament runs smoothly right after all the hard work has been done. So, just bite down and go get this done, and then we can have fun times running tournaments, which I didn't think I would have this much time, this much fun time running a tournament, because I don't get to play. As Kana has said, the way to not play Mahjong is to run a Mahjong league or tournament or a club, because you really just don't get a chance to do anything. Like the happiest, sometimes I will say the happiest time is when somebody pull out last second and we don't get we don't get a player to fill in, and then Nancy and I could play for maybe half an hour, and we're like, great, let's just go in and like ruin somebody's ladder.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it really is true. If you become a Mahjong organizer, you're probably not going to play a whole lot of Mahjong after that. But it is what it is. Love of the game. All right, so
Correct.
for someone listening who wants to start a Mahjong league or a Mahjong club in their city, what is some advice that you would give them?
I think it's really about what are you trying to achieve? I think from the outset, Sam and I had kind of a specific vision for what we wanted to do in terms of running tournaments and running more competitive, serious play. And we kind of backed into it. Like, okay, if that's our end goal, like what are the steps we need to take to get to there? We're in the minority. Like, I don't know of any other group, as you mentioned, that quite runs a league style. And so, yeah, I guess my first piece of advice would be like, what are your goals? And kind of, if that's your not your end goal, but like one of the things you're aiming for, like what are the steps you need to get to that place?
Yeah, I think for me, I would just say do what represent you and your culture the best, right? Like don't try to do stuff that you don't necessarily know. Like do what you love the most, right? If you're a Taiwanese person that loves Hong Kong style mahjong, just do a Hong Kong style mahjong league, right? You don't have to do something because culturally you're there or something. Right, we both happen to love Taiwanese style, so we just did Taiwanese style, even though almost every club, are doing 13 tile mahjong. And we kind of just said, well, whatever, we'll do our own thing. And I think, have a good time doing your own thing. Like, do your own thing and have a good time doing your own thing. That's really the thing I will tell people.
Great advice. And I think too, like Nancy said, really kind of understanding what you're trying to go for is really important. And especially as I've talked to people and I've done my research on different Mahjong clubs, it really is kind of a spectrum between, oh, casual, fun, hangouts, or a party, or something more serious and more competitive, like a league or a tournament. And it's really cool because it's kind of just like choose your own adventure. But choosing, what is your guys' choice of adventure? What's coming for LA Mahjong League for season 3? What are your guys' plans?
That's a little under wraps at the moment. Among some other things that are in the queue. But we're excited to see where this goes. I'm just really excited to see when we host events that they get sold out, that people want to come, they want to learn to play, and as long as there's that demand, we're here to supply as well. So in 26, look out for some other kinds of partnerships and probably a season 3, although we don't have specifics just yet. Probably we're gonna celebrate Chinese New Year because that's what we do.
There are things happening, and I think it's relatively safe to say season 3 is most likely going to happen. The only thing is, we're trying to make sure the schedule works out for us, so that we're not overwhelmed, and then the players aren't overwhelmed, and we give ourselves the highest chance to sell out as many tickets as possible, and also more player gets to play as much as possible, and that's the main thing. And the rest of the other stuff, there are a lot of partnerships are coming up. Thankfully, I think, as everybody knows, everybody in this knows, once you get recognized, I think it feels good, and you end up being able to work on different partnerships that come up because of what you've done. All of that feels good, and I'm not gonna lie, there's everybody's a little bit vain, and we always kind of enjoy a little bit of the limelight, but we're not going to do anything above our pay grade and do anything above what we set out to do. So we're still going to be LA Mahjong League. We'll still be doing what we do.
Wrapping up here, I think my final question is, what does success look like for you guys in 5 years?
I would say if we are able to host bigger tournaments, if we can continue to host tournaments, and just enjoy, people enjoy the competition aspect of the mahjong, because I think everybody enjoys the social aspect a lot. I just want people to kind of see how nice it is to be competitive, and hopefully this expands more or expands nationwide or whatever it is. Or there's a bigger tournament somewhere down the line that we can host, and I think it'd be really fun.
Wow, look who's manifesting now, because I was going to say, what about a New York Mahjong League? Or what about a Tampa Mahjong League? And what about a passport-style league? And what about, I don't know, 5 years is a long time to build, and it's pretty exciting.
Super exciting. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this conversation. It's been very inspiring, very eye-opening. I love what you guys are doing, and being able to get a peek behind the curtain has been really awesome, because I as I was researching, I'm like, this is cool. This is really cool. But kind of getting to see how everything works and how you guys have come to this, and also just the intense amount of care and planning that went into it before anything really even happened was really, really inspiring. And I definitely am going to take some of my learnings from this conversation and apply it to what I'm doing over here. And I hope that anyone listening to this can do the same. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Sam. That was Nancy and Sam, co-founders of LA Mahjong League. You can find them on Instagram at LA Mahjong League and at lamahjongleague.com. And if you're in the LA area, go check out their events. And if you mess up badly enough, you might just earn the title of Mahjong Eunuch. Thanks for listening to Between Rounds. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who's thinking about starting their own Mahjong community or just likes Mahjong in general. Thanks for spending some time between rounds. See you next time.